according to the communist interpretation of that word, until they have conquered the world. They think everything else is still a war. Dear Obama. These are some of the goals. This is the disarmament. Anybody pay attention to what just happened in Afghanistan? We gave away our resources to our enemy. This is where it comes from. The UN is the only hope for the world. That one world government, totally in charge of every part of our lives. This is not just the United States, but at this point, the petri dishes in places like Cuba, Venezuela, other places like that, they know what they can do. We're next. Taking away and violating your oath of office. Military people, you gave this sacred oath. People in government, I've given this oath 5 times already in different things. They want it destroyed. Useless. That's why it doesn't matter when they do things that are against their oath. They don't believe it's valid. So they say the words, and then they move on and do what they want to. Capture one or both of the political parties. I think they've done it.
Yep.
Keep hitting that wrong one. Justice for sale. Would you say that's pretty relevant today? They take over the courts. They are trying to take over anything that has to do with our justice. Schools. Oh my goodness. Taking control. Pumping in our brains full of horrid things. I loved that demonstration out on Calusa today. I honked my horn all the way down. They were out there. We will not comply, not have the jam. You don't have control over us. It was beautiful to see. There were probably 150 people out there. I honked my way. We will not comply. You're right. Somebody's holding up that sign. I agree. Taking over the media. I don't even want to think about it. This is another horrid one. They're taking away the beauty and coming up with ugly art to pervert. They're destroying the history. They're destroying the art. Awkward, meaningless forms. Our plan is to promote ugliness, repulsive, meaningless art. They're doing it. In the 80s, at Chico State, you should have seen some of the art that was in those art exhibits. That's when I realized what was going on. This is getting us. Obscenity, profanity, break down our cultural standards of morality. It's seeping into all of our language. We hear it so much, we pick it up and we use it. I know it. Most of the time I try not to use it, but I do. We all do. And I love this picture. Destroy the churches. Take them away. Religious expression. Separation of church and state. It is not in the Constitution, but they claim it is. Discredit the Constitution and our founders. How often did you hear people like Obama and other people since blatantly saying it?
Taking down Jefferson's statue.
Yeah, taking down the statues, everything. support any socialist movement to give centralized control. We don't count. Isn't there some kind of a saying about if you don't pay attention to the past, something, something, something? That's what they're doing, is discrediting and taking away the history so that we don't remember. We are the truth keepers. We are the history keepers. We are the only ones who can stand up and say, wait a minute, that's not true. Tyranny or liberty. All laws. They're changing all the laws. All the things, the FBI, the CIA, they're taking over. They're trying to take over the police. Why do you think they're doing things to get people from the military and from the law enforcement to leave? But at the same time, they're bringing in terrorists and MS-13 from below our border. They're the ones that they will put in their place. Do you think that is going to be justice? Infiltrate, gain control of the unions. They've done it. What used to be good is not. Control of big business, clearly. Defund the police, take away their power. Give it to social workers. Oh, it's not a behavior issue that we need to change. We need to be kind, and we need to treat them through psychological means. Baloney. Taking over the psychiatric profession, I have degrees in psychology. I've seen what it's like. Turning parents into domestic terrorists because we are standing up. Violence, cruelty, upheaval, rioting. That's the new norm. That's just the way it is. Remember the Summer of Love? All the other places? They just let it happen. This is where it comes from. This is the background, why they let it happen. Remember, this was written in 1958. One world court where they have control over what we do. We don't, they do. There are three basic systems spreading in Western civilization that came from China. Psychological warfare demoralizes, yep. Public opinion warfare, social media, shape the hearts and minds of everybody. And legal warfare, destroy the system of law. These are the three primary warfare tactics that they're using. You can vote or hide your way into communism. What will you have to do to fight your way out? What can we do to fight our way out? It's possible. This is Alinsky, 1971. He wrote a book explaining the communist goals and giving guidelines. He was a community activist, just like his protege, Mr. B. O.B. It was a playbook of subversive tactics called Rules for Radicals. Empower an upcoming generation of change agents, fundamentally change our nation, and progressive tacticians. It was their playbook. They still use it. It's changed a little, but they still use it. Language is a very potent weapon. politically correct language stems from here and the communist world. Overt, planned manipulation of our English language. It isn't an accident. It isn't a misinterpretation. It is a weapon. Dr. Posney did extensive research on this. He also said, to the communists, words are tools to achieve effects, not a means to communicate in the search for truth. We're puppets. Puppets getting ready to be slaves. The Seventh World Congress in 1935. Communists would no longer use sectarian, which is argumentative, antagonistic language. They had to soften it up. They knew. I'll be antagonistic. The communist message couched in terms that have a positive ring on the ear, that feel good. They must be dressed up like democratic liberalism or patriotic nationalism. Offensive terms must be avoided. 71, this is Alinsky. The despair is there. Now it's up to us to go in and rub raw the sores of discontent and galvanize them for radical social change. A few notable adherents that tend to go along with this. Gee, does that look familiar? Yeah. And that's only a few of them. Johnny Dottie will tell you later. This brief history lesson about Alinsky is to show the foundations of today's radical social justice movement. Know the history to know the future. Some ideas have evolved, they've gotten worse. We are beaten down, they're taking us over. These are his 13 rules. I've tried to group them. There's a lot more information. This is just a brief overview. But this is the power over us, taking power, degrading us, turning us into less than. They know the rules and how to use them against us as a weapon. That's what's important to them. Use the rules to beat us down. They take us to the very edge of what the rule is, and when we try to do something, they say, well, see, it says here in your rule book that. Yep. They use it very effectively. The perceived threat drags on too long, so they change it a little. Put on more pressure, threats and pressure. They maintain a constant pressure so that eventually you hear it often enough, you begin to think it's true. In psychology, I was taught, if you really want someone to understand something, you have to tell them 7 times before they get it. We've got a lot more than 7 times that we've heard this. They reverse the roles, make us think we're wrong, they're right, we better go along with it. The threats. Pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. That was the last of his 13 rules. They're all dangerous. And in action. I like this picture. Kind of reminds me of Solomon's threat. A ladder, so that the people could get out of the pit. Well, everybody has to be equal, so you saw it in half. Everybody's equal, but then nobody can get out. You are individual, but you are not protected. You are controlled. Now, Sharia law. We've heard a lot about it. Let me give you some good information about it. Allah Akbar is basically God is great. And they use it amongst each other to say Gesundheit, God bless you. It's very innocuous when it's used that way. When it's used as a weapon, it means my God is great and I am going to destroy you. And that is what they're doing. I have some horrid pictures I wouldn't show you. This is enough. This bloody picture. Yet they are not a religion of peace. This came out in 2017. I cannot overstate the dangers of Sharia law and its insidious, creeping nature. Sharia law is a monumental threat to our laws that are grantors of our liberty. Islamic rules are called Sharia law or Islamic law, which is a misnomer, which means it's stating it wrong. Because laws are supposed to be based on justice and fairness. Instead, it's nothing more than a primitive set of dogma stipulated by men for the benefit of only Muslim men. The women are chattel. They are treated as possessions and treated very poorly. And everybody is an infidel to either be used, abused, or killed. Period. That is what Sharia law is. Look at this. Compare it to our Constitution. This is Article 6. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. That's what we believe. They believe the source of legal rulings for all acts are of those who are morally responsible to Allah. There is only one law which is to be followed, and that is Shariah. Islam wishes to destroy all states and governments. First Amendment, freedom of religion. Those who reject Islam must be killed. This is the fundamental law. Not everybody in the United States follows it.